Hey there, my friends. I just realized that I had not hooked up my mic. Let me make sure that everything's working with my mic. I am so sorry. I was testing everything. Oh, it looks like it's back. Okay, sorry. I was testing everything and forgot to plug my mic back in. All right. So look where I'm at. I'm back here at the park and here at Tri-City Park. And I believe I'm probably on the Fullerton side of the park. Of course, we're going to be reading From My Utmost for His Highest, and then another great book called Man to Man by Lieutenant retired William G. Boykin. Let me go ahead and go to my comments here so I can see if anybody comments saying, hey, I can't hear you. Your mic's not working. Or you're too far away, or it's too dark. I didn't want to miss the opportunity to have this great weather go by without me coming back to the park. And before, I don't know, whenever it decides to rain again here in Southern California. But it's a beautiful day. I love coming here. This is where I used to come. Remember when I first started these broadcasts on the devotional months and months ago. And again, it's great to be back. My bike has a flat, or else I would have ridden my bike over here against some people's wishes about me riding bike. Hedia. Everything's working. Nice. I'm glad. And so, again, I'm glad to be back here at the park. It's just nice to be here. Another reason being is my son is doing Zoom. He only goes to school. He's in 8th grade. He only goes to school now on Thursdays and Fridays. The other 3 are in school Monday through Friday for a couple hours, and then they come home. So he's using the internet, and I don't want to drag his internet down either. Man, I look like I'm in the witness protection program. But again, I didn't want the weather and the view behind me to go to waste. But it's so funny, as I'm much closer to the road right here, where people are walking their dogs and walking their strollers as they go by. So everybody's like, looking, are you talking to me? Are you talking to your camera there? So let's go through the devotional day. I'm going to read the whole thing. And it is a good one, and it's going to match up to the man-to-man part of what I want to talk about today. But it's called The Law and the Gospel. And again, and I know I say this every time, and I'm probably going to have to stop saying it because it's a repeat always, is that whatever it is I read in the devotional happens to just be the thing I need to hear for the day, or it matches what is going on in my life. And so let's go ahead and read today's devotional. The moral law does not consider our weaknesses as human beings. In fact, it does not take into account our heredity or infirmities. It simply demands that we be absolutely moral, which is impossible. The moral law never changes, either for the highest of society or for the weakest in the world. It is enduring and internally the same. The moral law ordained by God does not make itself weak to the weak by excusing our shortcomings. It remains absolute for all time and eternity. If we are not aware of this, it is because we are less than alive. Once we do realize it, our life immediately becomes a fatal tragedy. I was alive once without the law, but when the commandment came, sin revived and I died. Romans 7:9. The moment we realize this, the Spirit of God convicts us of sin until a person gets there and sees that there is no hope. The cross of Christ remains absurd to him. Conviction of sin always brings a fearful, confining sense of the law. It makes a person hopeless, sold under sin. Romans 7:14. I, a guilty sinner, can never work to get right with God. It is impossible. There's only one way by which I can get right with God, and that is through the death of Jesus Christ. I must get rid of the underlying idea that I can ever be right with God because of my obedience. Who of us could ever obey God to absolute perfection? We only begin to realize the power of the moral law once we see that it comes with a condition and a promise. But God never coerces us. Sometimes we wish he would make us be obedient, and at other times we wish he would leave us alone. Whenever God's will is in complete control, it removes all pressure. And when we deliberately choose to obey him, he will reach to the remotest star and to the ends of the earth to assist us with all of his almighty power. So yeah, the dealing with sin and morality and all that kind of stuff is just a struggle from day to day. The thing that kind of brings me to a thought that I've had over the last several um, last couple of weeks, maybe it's been 3 or 4 weeks, is that um, it is difficult to go through life on a day-to-day basis by yourself. Now, the good news is I have my children 50% of the time. And I've talked about this before. I have my children 50% of the time. And I see a comment coming across here from Twitter, and I'm so sorry I can't read it right now. Having the children around me 50% of the time, which is 4 small children, and I have an older daughter who comes by every so often. So from time to time, I have either 4 or 5 of my children around me all the time. The great thing about that is my morality tends to be, not always, tends to be much better. Why? Because you're doing life with other people and you have a responsibility as a parent, and some of you don't take the responsibility serious enough, and I in the past have not either, that the children are watching everything you do. They're listening to everything you say. And they also pay attention to what it is you allow them to do and not allow them to do. And I've had this conversation so many times over the last couple months, and even for the last couple years, as to one aspect that's important is, what is it you allow them to watch in your home? Now, again, the argument always from people is that I hear from dads and moms from time to time is that, well, it doesn't matter what I allow them to do because they're just going to go to their friends and see it. That's just, they're going to be in their rooms by themselves and see it. But that does not, it doesn't speak to still your responsibility. And again, I probably even had that thought. And I go, you know what, that's not so bad. This one's okay. This one's a little bit raunchy, but it's okay. But having some rules in place that show your child, again, of your leadership, your respect for who they are as a human being and what you expect from them as when they get older, to have, having a leader. I talk about this all the time. Both dogs and children desire and need a leader. If you're not a leader, then they begin to spiral out of control. They get attitudes. They begin to, not talk to you like a parent. They begin, a whole bunch of stuff will begin to happen. Without that sense of leadership on a day-to-day basis, that regardless of what you think they're going to do when they're not around you. All right. It's the same thing. Again, I talk to my kids this all the time, and I've shared this too, is that if I'm not around, what if, Jesus is, Jesus is watching over you. God is watching everything you do. And then, so you have to always do life. You have to always remember when you're watching YouTube or watching whatever it is you're watching, that you're doing it understanding that God is watching you, that Jesus is sitting right next to you. And that's always an important thing. If I'm not there, then Jesus and God. And even when I'm there, Jesus is sitting next to me watching how I am responsible for you and setting rules and guidelines and that kind of stuff in responsibility of who I am as a parent. And so in relationship to this passage that I wrote, this devotional, it may or may not be related, but I'm telling you that it's much easier for me as a parent on that end, that I now be better, because again, I just have to be understanding that they're always watching me, always listening to me, always present, whether I think they're present or not. When they have their face in a book or their face on the internet or on a game, they still are well aware and they still hear. My children amaze me all the time that they'll come in and say, "Hey, I heard you talking to somebody about this thing," or "I heard you talking on the phone." And I go, "Really? I thought you were totally like, how come when you're engrossed in Fortnite, for instance, when you're engrossed in Fortnite, when I tell you to do the dishes or when I tell you to net the pool of the leaves that are in the pool, you don't hear a word that I say. But then when I'm on the phone talking, or I'm sharing a story with a buddy of mine and I start cursing or I start telling this horrible story, you hear every word I say. I mean, so understand that of course they call it selective hearing, but just know that they're always aware. Now, on the other end, and where I'm going to get to with this man-to-man, is that there's 50% of the time I don't have my kids. One of the great things right now is I have a beautiful, fantastic girlfriend who will now sometimes be and often be around when I'm by myself. See, this is the trouble with being by yourself, which I'm going to get to in 1 minute, is that her and I are in the same place right now in our walk with God. That she's a little bit ahead of me, right? And she's obviously a lot smarter than I am because she's a woman. But we have these discussions and these great conversations, and we listen to messages from Mark Driscoll and Jack Hibbs, and we go to the same church and all that kind of stuff. And so when I'm not with the kids, quite often I'm with her. Why is that powerful? It's because it doesn't allow the lack of morality, the lack of having a partner there to keep my mind and eyes and hands in a place that are not sinning. Well, but we both work hard, right? It's not, and again, I'm not telling you that all of us, between when I'm with my kids or when I'm with my girlfriend, is that we are sinless, but we are more likely to err on the side of morality. Now, when you're not with your girlfriend or boyfriend or your husband or your wife, and you're not with your children, what's next? And that is to have what the Lieutenant retired William Boykin here talks about is a battle buddy. And of course, he is a gentleman. William Boykin is the one of the founders of Delta Force, and had a long history in military and knows what it's like to be in battle. Comparing your life on this planet with battle is perfect, because constantly we are battling against sin and immorality and the media and social media and what it is we're seeing and sharing on social media. And it's a constant battle. And again, the great news or the great thing about what he says in this book is that all of us, whether it's woman or man, need a battle buddy, so that when we're not with our children, when we're not with our spouse or a boyfriend or girlfriend, is that we have somebody else we can phone and say, hey, I'm about ready to make a really bad mistake, or I'm thinking about going back to gambling, or I'm thinking about going back to drinking. That maybe you have somebody in your circle. Hey, ducks, what do you, the ducks are here visiting me again. And so I'm going to start in the middle of a paragraph. The title of this particular part of the book is called Defending Our Children Against Destructive Behavior. But it's when I get here, oops, you know what? I'm actually on the wrong page. Sorry about that. It's called Man as a Battle Buddy. That's the title. I skipped back to one of my old things I was reading. Man as a Battle Buddy. And I'm going to read what George Washington says here, which he has quoted. Be courteous to all, but intimate with few. And let those few be well tried before you give them your confidence. True friendship is a plant of slow growth and must undergo and withstand the shocks of adversity before it is entitled to the appellation. George Washington said that. And of course, Proverbs 27:17, an iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. All right, so now that I'm on the right page here, here's another one. I do not know, am I my brother's keeper? Genesis 4:9. And that is Cain responding to God when asked where his brother was. And so I'm going to skip a little bit of the preamble, because he talks about why it's important to have a battle buddy when he created the Delta unit and that kind of stuff, and skip down to where he's been talking about having a battle buddy, and then begins to talk about what Jesus says and has demonstrated in regard to having a battle buddy. And I see tons of comments coming up, and I'm so sorry that I can't read them right now, but they're coming mostly from, I think, one person from Twitter. And so my phone is so far away, I cannot see what it says on there. So let's get into this page. So as a matter of fact, Jesus seemed to think it was a good idea too. His disciples weren't exactly in a physical conflict, although most of them died torturous deaths under persecution later on. But Jesus knew all about spiritual warfare. And when he sent his followers out to share his message with the world, what did he do? He sent them in pairs, not one by one. He also told those who followed him, men and women alike, that when as few as 2 or 3 of them were praying together in his name, he would be in the midst of them, hearing their prayers and answering them. That scripture is not meant to indicate God does not hear nor answer our individual prayers. Rather, it is an exhortation to unity and teamwork. So maybe the idea of battle buddies came from a higher source than the Pentagon. I thought that was funny. Stu Weber's book challenged me in several ways, but one idea really got my attention. Stu wrote, as a Christian man, if there's a boy in your neighborhood without a father, you have the responsibility to mentor him. And why I decided to end on that is because you have the thought here in this little bit that I wrote, you have the thought that Jesus talked to his disciples and said, go in pairs. And that goes way back. When I was a police officer, we would go to calls where we thought that we were going to be potentially in some type of combat or some type of conflict, or something might happen where somebody might call our actions into question, is that we always respond in pairs. And so in Anaheim Police Department, where I was a police officer, we rode individually in cars, which was great. I was so happy that I went to Anaheim instead of LAPD, where you always had to be with the same person every day. I like being by myself. But we could go to like simple calls, like a parking, a violation of parking, or a suspicious circumstances that it doesn't seem high, like somebody thinks they hear a noise outside their home, and we would drive by all by ourselves. But whenever we thought we may get into conflict with somebody, like a burglary or robbery or an in progress type of call, a violent call, you were always sent in pairs. And so having a battle buddy was important in those circumstances, and also to protect you. If you, whenever I pulled over a woman, I almost always, that I can remember, always called for a backup. Why? Because there was always, we had it happen often where the woman that got pulled over would claim that the police officer pulled her over just because he wanted her phone number, or tried to pick up on her, or tried to sexually assault her. So in protection, also, you have a battle buddy there to make sure that you have a witness that you didn't do something, and that's before body cams and all that kind of stuff. And so having a battle buddy for two reasons: to be safe and to protect you from false accusations is important. So that's why I thought it was important to read that aspect of it, and to always have somebody present. There's pastors that talk about not getting into an elevator if it's just them and a woman, or being in a meeting where it's just them and a woman, and that kind of stuff. I don't know. That may be important, and maybe something that I should address later on in my life. but that's. I'm trying to think of the pastors who do. I know that. Pence, Vice President Pence, that's one of his philosophies, that he will never have a meeting one-on-one with a woman, that always there should be somebody else in the room. So that's one example of somebody that does that. So battle buddies are important for a bunch of reasons. Also, to be able to call them in the middle of the night and say, you know what, I'm having these thoughts, I'm thinking about this or that and the other thing, and having that person in your life. The last part that I read, and the reason I read it all the way to that last part, is because we have to understand that as men who have experience, men who have, certain skill sets and that kind of stuff, is to be thinking about how it is you're going to be able to mentor somebody. And that's what I really love about the Patriot Project that I'm putting together, is that's one aspect of what I want to do with the Patriot Project, is to bring a group of men together. Again, I'm still looking for about 12 men. I got 2 right now that have committed and said they want to be part of it, is where we begin to develop a program where we go out and help young men become adult men, to help them to become stronger, help them become more masculine, to help them understand that they are going to be the protectors and the warriors in our world. Conservative Christian men are needed in our world right now. And so as a man, and then of course, if there's women out there that have a skill set, a history, some type of authority in something, and you can bring up a young woman to be a more conservative Christian woman, that's somewhat of a responsibility that we should take take responsibility for, and understand that that's something that we've been called to do by Jesus Christ. And so we are not meant here on this planet to do life alone. I hope I haven't strayed too far off of today's devotional, but it talks about morality and sin, and you're less likely to be, is it immoral? Immoral, right? Not unmoral. You're more likely to be immoral, and you're more likely to be sinful quite often when you're by yourself. And so my point here is that when your kids aren't around and keeping you grounded, when your spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend are not around to keep you in, just to understand that you're with them, and of course less bad things are going to happen in relationship to your relationship. And then when you're by yourself, that you have some battle buddy that you can call on. That does not mean you can't necessarily be trusted by yourself, but you're more likely to be sinful and immoral when you're by yourself. That is definitely a fact that I just saw a guy going by an electric scooter. And so I hope that helps in understanding. I believe I got, Bruce Lynn is one of my battle buddies. I can count on him being around. I know that I could call him anytime I want to. I know that Vinny Pizzo is another great warrior that I could call. Probably even Rick Gutman and a few other people, that if I needed somebody to bring me back to morality and a less sinful life, that I could call on them and say, God, you know, I'm having one of those weeks where I just want to strangle somebody. I just want to punch them out because they are driving me crazy. You know, because we have all these battles that we're waging on a regular basis. I cannot wait to share and bring on, you know, anyway, I have other people in my life that I want to bring on here. That if you just saw the amount of visits I got and my girlfriend I got from Satan over the last couple of weeks, I think it would shock many people. There's other people that are going through way worse stuff than I am personally. But since our relationship started a few months ago, it is almost unbelievable the amount of attacks from Satan that we have had in our life. It is just truly an incredible thing. And so it's and how we've dealt with it is through reading scripture and going to church and watching messages from Mark Driscoll, watching a message from Jack Hibbs, and just understanding that it's okay. You know, the fear or the anger and all that kind of stuff has been covered by Jesus Christ. And so the ability to stay focused on that is what's important, to not allow fear, anger, hatred to enter our life, because we have the love of Jesus Christ and God in our lives, and being able to go to the books in the Bible and the devotional is one way of protecting ourselves from just simply strangling somebody. reaching through the TV and strangling somebody from CNN or MSDNC, whatever, about our elections, or some of the people that comment on our social media, right? And that, I mean, that is the battle that we're constantly waging against Satan. And so, again, I hope I haven't trailed off too far from today's devotional, but having some people in our life, whether it's people that we are mentoring, like my children, and making sure they stay in line and holding up guards and protection for them, guarding them from things, at least while they're in our presence. That's the only thing we have, right? To give up and to say, well, you know, when they go to their friends, they're going to see it anyway. When they go to school, they're going to hear all about, you know, sex and and they're going to cuss. And that is not an excuse for you to shirk your responsibility as a parent, to show them what leadership looks like, to show them that you care. And again, I just said this earlier, is that they seek and desire a leader in their life. They have to have that. And if they don't have that, then they go off on their own and find other leaders. They'll find their best friend to be their leader and their mentor, if you're not their leader and their mentor. They'll look to a YouTube star to be their mentor and their leader. Do you want to be their mentor or leader, or do you want the YouTube star who's completely immoral, hates Jesus Christ, loves the devil? Do you want them to be their mentor and their leader, or do you want it to be you? And so these are the things that we need to consider as we move forward. So I hope I didn't go too far. Yeah, barking dog. I had a group of people stand here watching me just a minute ago. So if you saw me get a little weirded out, it's because they were like moving closer to hear what I was saying. They happened to walk by right when I said Satan, and it stopped. It stopped a group of people. Like I said, I'm a lot closer to the road as people are going by. They can actually hear me what I'm saying. Usually I'm at another bench over there where, but there's a lot of noise. They're constructing something and sanding and stuff like that. So, so I moved over here, but it's like the road's right there. And as I'm talking, people are stopping and listening to what I have to say. All right, my friends, I love you guys. I hope you have a blessed day, a fantastic day. It's so beautiful here in Southern California. I know that there's people that are, experience different stuff right now. And I hope I didn't create any jealousy. This is why I don't leave California. I mean, this is one of the reasons I can't leave California. Damn it. I've been wanting to leave California, but every time I think about it, I go outside. And it's like this all the time. It makes it difficult. All right, my friends, I can't wait to see all these comments. I mean, the comments are like crazy today. And whoever's watching me on Twitter, I appreciate that, I think, because you're commenting a lot, and I do appreciate it. The comments are the way my videos get sent out. So the comments are great. Also remember that I'm on Parler and I'm on Rumble, because I'm not sure what's going to happen on social media. You know, one last thing that's really actually funny is that I have a bunch of friends who have comments and posts that are similar to mine, and they're getting 30-day suspensions from Facebook and Twitter and and YouTube. And I know I'm going to jinx myself by saying this. I've had some pretty crazy titles for some of my messages that I've had, not just on the devotional, but on my show that I do in the evening. And I know now that I say this, I'm going to get banned from Facebook, but I keep waiting, because I put a title the other day, you know, who's really killing the children in our country? And of course, it's Democrats that are killing the most amount of children in our country, both with the lockdown and with abortion. And it's a truthful title, but I thought for sure I was going to get suspended by Facebook. But here I am talking to you. All right, my friends, I love you guys so much and appreciate your being active on my page and listening, and especially some of the new people that tend to watch. So please share, like, comment. If you're watching the replay, that really helps me out. And then also go to Rumble and Parler and my podcast, the AndyFalcoPodcast.com. Go to the AndyFalcoPodcast.com. You go there and subscribe to my podcast. That would be fantastic. All right, my love, my friends, I love you. God bless you. Take care. I got to go to my brand and my outro. All right, my friends. God bless.